October up to Labour weekend. So, yeah, it's quite a diverse sort of a climate and an experience with the landscapes from top to bottom. It's only a small country. It's about the same size as the British Isles. Yeah.
Okay.
So about, didn't you say 270,000?
Yes.
270,000 square kilometres.
Okay. Any idea what that is in proper?
Oh, in miles?
Miles,
No.
yeah.
It's about the same size as the British Isles.
Same size as Japan, California,
Yeah.
Okay.
British Isles.
With only about 4.2 million people in it.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So is it true there's more sheep than people?
Not at the moment, I don't think.
so.
You know, it's actually it's a funny thing because, you know, the Australians love to give us a hard time about the number of sheep and other things that goes on, but they've actually got more sheep per capita than we do. So, yeah.
All right, I'll have to remember that. Checking it out before you check in on the John Guinn Travel Show on ukhealthradio.com. So we found out that New Zealand is 26 hours away, roughly, by flight. And because it takes such a long time to get there, I wanted to know how popular New Zealand is with UK holiday makers. How many British people visit each year? Any idea?
Yeah, to the end, was it the end of January this year, we had about 187,000, which is somewhat down on the glory days of our British arrivals. We used to have between about 220 to 250.
Yeah.
So we are considerably down. I mean, the economic crisis certainly hasn't helped. And also, too, I mean, British citizens have got a lot of choice on their back doorstep.
Yeah.
So we love that 187,000 plus people that come down. And they're great travellers too, because as I said earlier, they tend to come down for at least 3 weeks. And recently we were at a travel show, we were on one of the operator stands helping them do the New Zealand sell while they sort of wrote the itineraries. And without a doubt, most people that came up said, I've got 5 to 7 weeks, what do I do? So, and I think people are seeing it as a trip of a lifetime, or they've been down in their youth, and now they've got more time and the kids are out and, you know, doing their own thing. They're coming back and revisiting New Zealand, which is great. We've got a very high repeat visitation, actually. So.
Okay, so when they go down there, what is there for them to see and do?
Where do you start? I think it really depends. We like to find out what people really like to do. I mean, whilst we've got beautiful beaches, we're not your fly and flop destination. So you don't come down to sit on a beach and read your book. Look, we're well known for our walking tracks. You've got the Milford Sound, the Hollyford Track, Abel Tasman, Queen Charlotte, Tongariro Crossing, and that's a very big focus for us out of Britain. Great food and wine. We make fantastic wine. We might be a little bit biased, but we make fantastic wine. Particularly known for our Sauvignon Blanc and our Pinot Noir. So food and wine's a nice thing. We've got a great cycleway that runs through the length of New Zealand now. And again, we're seeing a spike out of the UK for cycling. Māori culture, obviously, Indigenous people. We get a lot of people wanting to know how they can meet with Māori, but we sort of have to say to them, they are actually integrated into society. I mean, they're just like you and me, you know. You don't need to go up and see them behind a screen or anything. So visiting maraes, doing waka, which is the Māori war canoe. You can get in a waka and canoe like the Māori warriors do.
I'm not built for that.
It was actually a lot of fun. Actually, I did that up in the Bay of Islands. It's very, very cool. We've got skiing. We've got adventure. You know, we're the home of bungee jumping, skydiving, heli skiing, jet boating. Self-drive is a big proportion for visitors to New Zealand out of this region, particularly camper vans. So, I don't know, there's probably about 10 different camper van companies to choose from. So you can be really budget, or you can be, you know, the upmarket sort of Kia and Maui that I just tried that at New Year's. I had a 6-berth to myself and I went glamping, as we call it, and it was just a huge amount of fun. I just put my tourist hat on and did that. So that's a big segment for us out of here.
Okay.
Weird and wonderful wildlife as well.
Wildlife.
All our crazy birds.
Yeah, crazy birds. The kiwi bird. Very important distinction. Our nicknames as Kiwis are after the bird, not the brown fruit. Okay? Yeah. A lot of people go, oh, right, yeah, didn't
Named after a fruit.
You don't like being called after a fruit, no. So very big on our wildlife. You can obviously go whale watching at Kaikoura. You can swim with the Hector dolphins, which are very rare in Akaroa, which is just near Christchurch. We've got lots of penguins down the sort of the Otago coast in particular. Gannet colonies. Stewart Island, great for the twitches of Great Britain, and twitches are another big segment for us. We go to the Rutland Bird Fair every year.
Okay.
And because we've got a lot of conservation area, Department of Conservation area that is extremely well maintained, and a lot of our walking tracks are on Department of Conservation land. So it's great for us Kiwis. We've got a lot of this wildlife and scenery and walking tracks right on our doorstep. So it's a big draw card, obviously, for people from Great Britain. So it's a lot to do. I think that's the thing. I think people look at New Zealand and see it as in comparison to the size of Australia. And we had some clients in yesterday that said that they've got a couple going down for 8 weeks, 5 in Australia and 3 in New Zealand. And I said, can you please try and at least even that out 4 weeks and 4 weeks? Because Australia is a fly drive destination, and by that I mean that people go there and they think, oh my goodness, I need so much more time to spend in Australia. But they fly into all the major cities and then they do their day trips out from there, and they go to the wineries and, you know, into the mountains and that sort of thing. But then they've got to come back and then they've got to fly to the next city. Whereas in New Zealand you don't. You arrive, you spend a day getting your legs back and getting at one with the time zone, and then jump in a rental car or a camper van and go out and explore. Or fly to the different places, but I mean, you pretty much go up and go back down again. I mean, I think the longest flight would be Auckland to Queenstown.
Yeah,
that's
it's like under 2
an hour and a
hours,
half or something. So I mean, it's not a big country to get around. And look, I'd be really rich if I took a penny for every time someone said I really wished I had spent more time in New Zealand. I mean, Australia's a beautiful country, don't get me wrong, and we love our Australian neighbours, except when they beat us in sport. But that is a common mistake. And literally I just turn around and say, would you expect to drive around and see everything that you wanted to see in the UK within a week to 10 days? And you wouldn't.
No.
You wouldn't even be able to fit in London, you know, and see half the sites that you wanted to see. So I think when we put it to that, in that perspective, people understand that you really can't just knock off New Zealand in 7 to 10 days. You really need at a minimum 1 week, at a minimum in each island. So, yeah.
Okay, you mentioned about driving around. How easy is it to drive?
Oh, super easy. Drive on the same side of the road.
On the correct side.
Signage is in English. Yeah, unless you're talking to the Americans, and then it's not the correct side of the road. It's in English. We don't have the big motorways. Where sort of our motorways are like your secondary roads, I guess, sort of, you know. So it's not like as though you can put your foot flat and go for miles, you know, at a great rate of knots. But you don't want to do that anyway, because then you're missing the scenery.
Yep.
But you could literally drive for an hour and not see anybody, you know, particularly down in the South Island. In fact, you know, the most you'll see is probably a farmer moving his sheep or his cattle. So, yeah, very easy to get around. But I would highly recommend as well to visitors coming to New Zealand, please don't land and get in a rental car or camper van on day one. Take at least a night and a day to stretch your legs and experience Auckland or Christchurch, which are the 2 main hubs for us, and get at one with the time zone, and then get in the car. It's just not a good thing with jet lag to not become a car. And you might be driving on the same side of the road, but you've still got to be concentrating on you know, where you're going. So please spend a night somewhere first. Has that been a bit
of a problem in the past?
You know, to be fair, there have been some incidences, and I think generally it's in the height of the season, and it's in places like going in and out of Milford Sound where it's busy, and there's a lot of coaches going in and out as well, and they're too busy looking at the wonderful scenery, and they take their eye off the road. And not so much for British visitors, because we do drive on the same side of the road, but some of our other countries that drive on the other side tend to, you know, they'll go around a corner or something and they're on the wrong side because they haven't been paying attention. So there have been a couple of accidents.
Okay, I'll make sure people know that.
You're listening to The Travel Show with John Guinn on UKHealthRadio.com.
You mentioned the South Island, and there's not much, and you could be driving for an hour. What is there to do in the South Island?
Oh, skiing, mountain, going up Mount Cook, beautiful. We've got glaciers, we've got icebergs actually around Mount Cook. Winery tours. Again, the cycleways, on-road and off-road, so mountain biking versus, road biking. The walkways are the biggest part, I think, of the South Island, really, in the scheme of things. You can heli hike up to the glacier on Fox and Franz Joseph, which is a fantastic experience.
Is it really hiking, though, if you get in the helicopter up there?
Well, you do a lot when you're up there.
Oh,
Like they land you up on the glacier.
You don't
I
have a
did
look
this.
around and then get back
crampons.
Yeah, you've got the crampons and everything, and they give you these full suits because you're going in and out of crevasses and everything. I mean, it's a workout, but it was fantastic. I mean, honestly, I thought, oh, really? It's going to take 2 hours or something? Oh, my goodness, you had to ply me off the glacier. I was just having some beautiful day. So, no, it was great. But then you've got the little hidden gems, and I think that my team here is sick of me talking about this couple, but when I was in New Zealand back in May last year, I did a familiarisation after our big trade event, and we went up the west coast, and we were saying, oh, what a shame it's not whitebait season. And then we saw this whitebait sign, so we turned in, and there was this wonderful couple from the Curly Tree Whitebait Company, and they actually, do you know whitebait?
Yep.
I say these things and people look at me like, remember you probably don't know what whitebait is, but and they're wholesaler, whitebait wholesalers, so they go out in the season and catch all the whitebait and sell it off, obviously, to the supermarkets and so forth. But they sell whitebait patties. So we stood there with them for about an hour and a half or so, and there were about 11 or 12 cars that came through, all visitors. Majority, I'm delighted to say, were from the UK and Europe, which is our region, but we had some Australians and some Asians and some Americans, and they all came in and we just started talking to them. There were 4 of us from Tourism New Zealand, and this couple were just so friendly, and they were educating people about whitebait, and they were Māori as well, so they got talking about their culture and everything, and we just got back in the car and we were absolutely buzzing about the experience that we had, and that we could see that they were giving those visitors, and we thought, well, if that's what our visitors get to experience, we're in good hands. So I always put Curly Tree Whitebait Company on anybody's itinerary. They're just enhanced, by the way. What else can we do? Oh, well, obviously the bird watching is another big thing.
Cruises on Milford
Sound, Doubtful Sound. You can stay overnight on Doubtful Sound.
Which sound would you recommend as the must-do if you had to pick one?
If you're short of time, it's Milford Sound, particularly because you can... My ideal for seeing Milford Sound is a coach cruise fly. And the reason for that, and that's generally a half day, and the reason for that is you get a really great commentary. I mean, as a Kiwi, I listen to it and I'm like, wow, I didn't know half of this. So it's a really good commentary, and most of the coaches have got glass top roofs as well, so you're seeing what's going on around you. And then you do the lovely cruise, and they pull you up to the waterfall, and you hold out a glass, and if you can fill your glass under the waterfall, they'll give you a dram of whiskey because you've probably frozen yourself standing on the waterfall, and then fly out. And you can either heli out or fixed wing. And it's just... such a breathtaking, I think, is, without being sound like a cliche, it's just so breathtaking being in this little thing and just over all these waterfalls and lakes and glaciers and mountain ranges. It's just absolutely stunning. I mean, let's we'll draw the attention to The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. I mean, that scenery is actually what you get, and that's a really important thing for people to understand. But so if you're short of time, Milford Sound. If you've got 3 or 4 or 5 days in the Queenstown region, which is where you base yourself, I would go and do Doubtful Sound and overnight on the Wanderer, or there's a couple of boats, but a really, really beautiful experience in Doubtful Sound.
Yeah. I've seen the pictures. I think, one day.
Yeah, that's your chill out spot because it's so peaceful, and you're pretty much guaranteed to have dolphins come and visit you, and obviously the bird life there as well. So I think they've had the odd whale come in the fjord as well. It's very deep. The cruise ships can come into there, so it's a very, very deep stretch of water into the Milford Sound. But Doubtful Sound overnight if you've got the time.
Okay. You mentioned Queenstown. What do you do at Queenstown?
Gosh, again, where do you start? I'm from Queenstown, so I'm a bit biased. Well, as I said, I mean, Queenstown really is the adventure capital. So if you really want to throw yourself off a bridge, out of a plane, do a canyon swing like a big pendulum thing and you're strapped in, that's all there for you. You've got the Skyline Gondola in Luge, so it's a great spot to go up and get your bearings around Queenstown. You've
Great
got
golf.
jet boating, fantastic golf courses, international golf courses. Actually, that's something. We must get that stat, but it's